Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Liberty Libations. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Jake Green. Right now, I have Mr. Zach Varnell. Zach, what do you got to say to everybody?
Not a lot. Hello, everyone.
First off, per usual these days, let's talk about the Great Create. Zach, you gave me some info. Why don't you just spill the info on this one since you're the one telling me what to say?
Sure. So this is our mini Freedom Festival / Libertarian Convention that's going on this year in Perry, Georgia, May 12th through the 14th. We're going to have 2 days of, sort of an expo, a festival, getting together and hearing speakers and listening to music and watching films and seeing art and having tons of vendors out selling whatever. It's going to be a good time. And then on the 14th, we're doing the Libertarian annual business session, and everyone can show up and decide the future of the Libertarian Party of Georgia. And tickets are on sale now for that first 2 days that you heard of. They're $42 ticket, so 2 days worth of content for just that.
Ooh.
And then Sunday, people just show up. Business is always free.
Heck yeah. And some great speakers. Yes, these are some of the vendors and people demonstrating different self-sufficient, self-reliability.
Yeah. So the website's starting to fill out a little bit more, show what people are doing. There's some bios behind these pictures now if you guys want to go check it out. Some of them, probably not that one. Chose the one. You chose the two. All right.
Let's see if I can go three. There we go. Almost went 3 for 3.
Yeah. So you got some bios in there to check out, and you can see, sort of their profession or their skill is what they're coming to talk about. Obviously, this guy's going to come talk about mushrooms and foraging, and
look how big that thing is. I mean, that's the size of his whole friggin' chest. Holy crap! Yeah, my wife's gonna love this. She's obsessed with mushrooms.
Yeah, they're great here. I mean, in a few months, I'll be out collecting chanterelles all the time and trying to learn some of the other ones on my property. That's the one I've gotten down and I'm good with. But
we harvested oyster mushrooms the other day from our backyard.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a live version of the Free Georgia podcast. We'll do a live stream of this stream. I don't know if you can call this a podcast. We don't release it anywhere but YouTube, and it's not really structured all that well. Mr. Shane Hazel is going to be doing a live radical, and we've got the Happy Homeschooler podcast coming in. What else we got? Miss Amanda Miller, Matt Carter, who is in the comments right now, talking about how the train derailed tonight's episode. Yeah, we started a little bit late per libertarian policy. Film festival at this thing. My movie, got Monopoly on Violence coming. Got Daywalker Comedy with her sketches. And then we got a few of these folks. Tell me about this. Tell me about King Randall, Zach. He's got a cool story.
So he's the founder of the X for Boys. And back when I first heard about him, I believe he was like 20, 21. And he had this dream to start a school and then to teach real life skills there, not just a, government curriculum or what's the one, Common Core or something like that, but like teach, how to change oil and how to go fishing and just all, everything. And then also reading, writing, all that stuff too. I hope I'm getting this right. It's been a while since I've seen his story, but he first wanted an old building, I think, in town that was an old school, and he was going to renovate it and make it into that. And the local government was just like, no, you're crazy. We're not giving that to you. And, after all these years, now he has, I think, a repurposed house that he's running this sort of boarding school or life school out of, and he has students and it's happening. I don't know if it's on the same scale right away as he was envisioning, but it's, he's starting it up and it looks great.
That's awesome.
Definitely learning more there than in government school.
A little bit, just a little bit more. So yeah, got tons of great stuff happening at The Great Create. You can go to thegreatcreate.org.
And more coming. There's already at least one thing I need to put on the website, and then a few people that are gonna, be announced soon. So
love it. And we have a new person joining us at this very moment.
Hey,
Mr. Alden Hardy. How you doing,
how's it
brother?
going, man? Pretty okay.
Yeah.
I was
Why don't
trying to.
you introduce yourself? Tell folks who you are and what you do.
Oh, I don't know, man. I right.
You want me to do your introduction?
I would honestly, I defer to you. Yeah.
Okay, so me and Alden went to college together. He is maybe one of the most talented artists I've ever worked with. He can draw, he can sculpt, he can do animation, he can do a whole bunch of stuff. And he worked on my first documentary and made the animations for that. And when we were in college, he made this 6 foot tall scorpion thing out of like beech wood and metal. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I wish that I had kept it or bought it or whatever, because it's
I
gone
wish you
now.
had kept it because someone stole it, so
Yeah,
it's
huge bummer.
gone. What do you do?
Well,
Where do
welcome
you
to
hide that
the
if you steal it?
right. That's a good
So
question.
yeah, it's the shortest version of that is like I took it to like an art studio, and then I got a call one day or a text, and they were like, "Hey, we're closing our doors," and then like I tried to get a hold of them to get my stuff, and then the doors were just closed and they were gone with my stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, not cool.
Yeah.
So you haven't quite attracted art thieves yet, but
Yeah, not quite. They probably just threw it away. I don't know.
Well, we were just talking about the Libertarian Party of Georgia is putting on this thing called the Great Create, and it's a DIY freedom festival, and it's all about like becoming self-sufficient and learning new skills and new hobbies, and making it so you're less reliant on government.
Less reliance, the key, man. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of great speakers coming and people teaching different things like goat dairy and cheese making,
I'm into
mushroom
that.
growing, all sorts of stuff. Brewing. I
Right
know
on.
you're into that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a libation tonight, Alden?
Right now, I just have the old trusty Coors Banquet standby here. Yeah.
There
Nothing
we go.
special.
All right. What is your beverage of choice if you had to pick one?
Ooh. Oh man, like the one on the island forever kind of thing.
Yeah.
Man, if I had to pick like just one like can I say like it's all whiskey or all wine or all whatever? Like
Yeah, you can say that.
okay.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to
less
narrow it
fun.
down. I think if I had to pick one just family of alcohol, it'd be wine, which if you had asked me like 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have even guessed that I would say that. But
Right. I would not have ever guessed that.
yeah,
Interesting.
I've been
Okay.
diving into it, man, and it's just I don't know. It's so
Hey,
good.
we had a like wine subscription for a while, and you're right. I mean, there are some really good wines out there, and believe it or not, they do taste different. Like
Yeah.
for the longest time, never thought they tasted different, but now
No.
they do.
And I think it's just the barrier to entry with wine is just more because it's so much to know, and it's like a lot more expensive to get the good stuff. And
Yeah,
so
it is.
yeah. But now, honestly, I've been finding so like I drink a lot of whiskey, and they're all just kind of getting bought out, and like the ones that have been my like staple whiskeys for a long time have been tasting kind of like medicinal, and like I don't know, man. I've been having to just kind of like look elsewhere at the same price range anyway. So
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, next thing we got to do some housekeeping, because that's just what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Rage Against War. There is a rally in 3 days in Washington, D.C.
I like this name.
Called Rage Against the War Machine. And if you go, we'll go to the website here in a second, but we're going to play this video because I want to. And we played it last week. We're going to play it again because it's awesome.
What if the American people knew in the depths of their hearts that war is nothing more than a racket? What if we learned that war has not only killed innocent people overseas, but has eroded our civil liberties and our privacy at home? What if we acknowledge that nation building does not work? And if we want to win hearts and minds, we can achieve this without the use of violence. What if I were to tell you that there's another way, a way of peace, a way of freedom, a way of prosperity and friendship among all peoples through diplomacy and open dialogue? We, the people, have the power to stop this machine. We can demand an end to the wars that have dragged on for decades, and an end to the military-industrial complex that profits from death and destruction. We can call for foreign policy based on mutual respect. Join us at the Lincoln Memorial at 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, February 19th, on the anniversary of the Ukraine War and President's Day weekend, to rage against the war machine. After the rally, we'll march to the White House and deliver our demands. What if our voices could make the difference?
What happens if my concerns are completely unfounded? Nothing. But what happens if my concerns are justified and ignored? Nothing good.
Well, Alden, I'm sure you've not heard of this rally. So what are your first thoughts on that video?
I mean, I've been, hippie level, like, opposed to war as a concept for a long time, but in, growing up and like learning more about it, man, like historically, I've been digging into like our past wars and learning a lot of the like unspoken truths of the past wars and who made the money from it and blah, blah, blah. And man, it's a mess. And I'm still, for different reasons, but still opposed to war. And I love this name. It's like, we're violently opposed to violence, this Rage Against the War Machine. Like,
yeah.
But anything that's a Rage Against the Machine reference, I'm into. So
I like that. And yeah, these are the demands of the protest. No more war, no more money for Ukraine war, negotiate peace, stop war inflation, disband NATO. That's going to be a tough one, but I like it. Nuclear de-escalation. I like that they put a mushroom at the end of that.
It's too small for me to see, so I'm glad you said that.
I feel like it's representative of a mushroom cloud, but like maybe taking mushrooms could lead to nuclear de-escalation.
Also, the nuclear symbol is available, and they didn't go with that.
That's great. Slash the Pentagon budget, abolish the CIA, and what is MICIMATT?
Nothing good.
Okay, agreed. Abolish war and empire, restore civil liberties, and free Julian Assange, which I love.
Military-industrial complex, and then what's IMAT?
I don't know. Here, let's see. I know they list them out. Let's see.
And deep state IMAT.
Military-industrial complex and industrial deep state.
That might be right. No,
because it was. Headgum. Yeah, I don't. Military-industrial complex. No, I don't know what IMAT is. Anybody know?
I've never heard it.
Somebody in the comments just suggested if you know. Anyway, yes, it is happening this Sunday. It's finally here. We've been talking about it for like 2 months now, and you got 2 days to get there. Figured out how to get there. I know it's a little last minute for most folks, and Grumpy Gnome, I'm in your boat. Wanted to go, just couldn't find anywhere to stay within my budget. Completely understand. Prices for things are getting a little out of control, so I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean that video says it all. What's great, what I find most inspiring about this whole thing is that the Libertarian Party and the People's Party came together on this issue. Like, two parties that couldn't be more opposed on so many things decided to come together on this issue and, make it happen. It's pretty cool. It's something that you don't really see either of the two major parties doing. When they come together, it's a disaster and it's for something terrible.
Yeah.
When we come together, it's for a much better reason and in a good way.
If the main two parties agree on something, watch out. it's the worst stuff.
Yeah, completely agree.
I don't know much about the People's Party, honestly.
It's basically it's like the Socialist Party, right? Communist Party, something like that. Yeah.
A continuation of the Bernie Sanders crowd that didn't just get sucked into the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mises Caucus is also sponsoring it. I don't know anything about TNT Radio or Food Forest Abundance.
I know about Food Forest Abundance. That guy makes awesome maps, I'm fairly sure. Like, he'll plan out your entire property to be a food forest.
I know about this, actually.
Yeah. And then he'll give you the map of it. There's your plan for or I think he even will implement it too. If you want to pay him to come plant it all, he'll do that. But
no, I legit want to do this.
Interesting. Foodforestabundance.com if y'all want to go check that out. I'm definitely going to check that out.
It's
And
actually
check out-
super cool.
Yeah, he's on the podcast circuit too. I forget his name, but like his interviews and stuff are really good. If you
He had
look
one
him up.
on I think it's the THC podcast that was really good.
Nice.
I think that's him. The Higher Side
Okay.
Chats podcast.
I might try to get him on Free Georgia podcast.
Oh, that'd be great. I
Let's
think he's in
see.
Texas. So
Oh, well, we got something in common there. Occupy Peace and Freedom. Don't know anything about them. Man, a lot of sponsors. Oh, there's even more. Okay, we're not going to go through all of them. That would take forever.
It's well supported.
The speakers are phenomenal. I don't know why this stupid thing stays in the middle of the screen. That drives me nuts. What is that? And why is that there? Whatever.
he's just working on the website right now.
So we got Jimmy Dore, who was awesome on Tim Pool today, one of the days. Ron Paul, the great Ron Paul, who almost never leaves Texas. He's coming up
yesterday because Sarah Higdon's on tonight. So we
Okay.
had her first. So now she's on Tim Pool.
Nice. Tulsi Gabbard, who's great against the war, but terrible on most other things. Yeah, I mean, Scott Horton, can't beat that. Tons of speakers, tons of great freaking speakers at this thing. So yeah, if you're anywhere near the DC area and you can get out there to attend, I would highly advise doing so. I think it's pretty important protest, an event to attend. I know there's going to be a ton of people there. I know Tim Pool and his whole crew are going. Jimmy Dore obviously is a speaker. He invited them
Coverdale
out.
just got announced. So another guest of ours.
All right, I love it.
If I were even close, I would go. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go, but it's just the exact wrong time. Okay, here we go. Grumpy Gnome, International Military Assistance and Training Team. Huh. I have no idea what that is.
Is that for the acronym we were trying to
IMAT.
come up with? Oh, okay. I've never heard of that.
Okay, that's something that I'll have to research, and maybe we'll talk about that next week. Well, there's one big topic, and it's been in the news. And I know, Alden, we briefly touched on it when I was texting you earlier today. So we're going to play a whole bunch of things from this, but we'll talk about each one as we go. So here's a minute and a half talking about Ohio.
We now know 3 more chemicals that were on board the Norfolk Southern train that derailed here in East Palestine just over a week ago. And we're being told that some of those chemicals are dangerous.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency sent a letter to Norfolk Southern stating that ethylene glycomonobutyl ether, ethylexyl-acrylate, and isobutylene were also in the rail cars that were derailed, breached, or on fire. Caggiano says ethylexyl-acrylate is especially worrisome. He says it's a carcinogen, and contact with it can cause burning and irritation in the skin and eyes. Breathing it in can irritate the nose, throat, and cause coughing and shortness of breath. Isobutylene is also known to cause dizziness and drowsiness when inhaled.
I was kind of surprised that when they quickly told the people they can go back home, but then said if they feel like they want their homes tested, they can have them tested. I would have far rather they did all the testing.
Caggiano says it's possible some of these chemicals could still be present in homes and on objects until you clean them thoroughly.
There's a lot of what ifs, and we're going to be looking at this thing 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line and wondering, gee, cancer clusters could pop up, well water could go bad.
Caggiano recommends anyone who's in the East Palestine area get a health checkup. He says get a record of where your health stands now so that moving forward, you have documentation of any possibly related effects to the train derailment.
All right. So that's about the tamest video we're going to watch. They didn't show any of the dangerous stuff. They kind of talked about 3 of the chemicals, but the other 4 are pretty horrendous as well. Yeah, Alden, what are your? You had some thoughts. You were texting me earlier.
Yeah, I have thoughts. This is like when you hear about one train, then it's gonna be multiple. Like, remember I had mentioned this to you. It's like the similarities with like the canal stuff and like the shipping, like getting stuck in canals, and then you're like, how does this happen once? Let alone like I don't even know how many times that it ended up happening. in a
Yeah.
row. And like I mean, I don't know, man. I've got more of the like tinfoil hat, just skepticism now, just approach to everything.
Well, that's what we
But
like here. So we're very happy with tinfoil hats.
I haven't looked into this one specifically enough to like say, but the things I'm like watching out for are like, you know, why would they need that area cleared, or like whatever, or you know, what does it affect? And it affects the like fish and chickens are dying already. And there's
Yeah.
also the weird clue of there's a movie that just came out with like this plot line, the White Noise movie.
Yeah, with Adam Driver.
It's so new. I haven't even had a chance to see it yet.
I only saw the trailer, and it was
Exactly.
like identical.
And it's this story. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. And I follow a lot of like Hollywood like stuff, and there's like weird level like just like propaganda clue stuff just dropped in so many movies now, especially the big ones or whatever. But
What was the that Julia Roberts movie where she investigated that town being poisoned?
oh, Aaron Brockovich, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of
yeah.
that. Reminds me of that movie.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's that type of stuff going on behind the scenes of this in the aftermath and all of that. But
yeah. I mean, this was definitely the tamest coverage. And what I've found most interesting is that like none of the big news stations are covering any of this. And, like,
I thought it was odd that it was kind of quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see some of the things that we're about to see. Well, first off, let's talk about this real quick. How often do you think trains derail, Alden?
Like as a percentage of all routes run or something, or how many a year?
Yeah, how many per year?
I mean, I would say I don't hear about them much in just this country. I would say like under one a year or something. I don't even know.
So
I'm so bad with guessing things like this. But
well, that's okay. 1,704 derailments per year in this country.
Are you for real?
Yep.
You were just off by infinity, I think.
It's an insane amount. And so that kind of leads you to wonder, okay, like all these different people are now popping up and being like, oh, there's train derailment here. There's train derailment here. It's like, okay, yes. And that shouldn't be happening, but it clearly happens a lot.
That's
every
crazy.
Single year. And so it's not, I'll pull up a map. Somebody was sharing it. Hang on, let me find it real quick.
Last year in September, there was a train derailed in Georgia. That was like a big coal train. I guess it went out of control. It hit another engine. And I think they, at least in the news, counted it as 2 derailments. So that might be how that number gets so high too.
Is it like cars that jump tracks? Because
no, they don't count that.
Oh, okay.
But if one train, or if 2 trains collide, that might be 2 derailments. But
yeah,
that is a bigger disaster in a way.
Oh,
but luckily, the one here in Georgia, like they picked up the coal, and I think there was a diesel leak, which not good, but not anywhere the disaster of this magnitude.
Correct. I'm just trying to put it in perspective because there are a lot of conspiracy or a lot of theories going out there that like this is on purpose, which I don't know, could have been. There have definitely been 3 or 4 other chemical trains that have derailed in the past couple weeks.
I wonder too, what counts as a derailment, because I doubt every single one is a disaster with the trains, flipping over or whatever. Some of them, maybe they just go put it back on.
Yeah. So I'll just read this real quick. Those numbers might seem pretty staggering, but derailments vary in severity and only a portion result in injuries. During that same time frame, 5,005. So this was a period of 31 years. Okay, they did this. Over 31 years, 5,547 people were injured when a train derailed, about 174 per year. Even then, much of that data is skewed due to a 2002 derailment in North Dakota in which a hazardous spills injured more than 1,400 people. So there was that. That's a huge one. Like that's a massive one that we never heard about.
I don't know what sort of expert BTS is on all this, but
I don't know, but this is the main data that we have. So.
Dude, I'm trying to make a joke. BTS, the K-pop band. Come on,
man. Why would I know a K-pop band?
It's like the biggest band in the world.
That's what I was just thinking. Like,
So yeah, only 131 people have died in train derailments in 31 years. So it's not it's not a deadly thing. It's most of the time. Generally, it's freight trains. It's not passenger trains. Every
Right.
now and then a passenger train will, but you know, the state. It's clear that the state of our train system is terrible and like needs some major maintenance. And I've also heard that people actually do physically mess with the tracks and will put wires across the tracks to mess with the electrical signals so that the train will derail.
Yeah. The tampering is a whole other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just in the neighborhood where I used to just grow up, and we would just go over there and like cross the bridge, the Trestles Bridge, and go fishing and everything. And I used to go pull off. You wouldn't believe the things that every time I would go down there, I would pull off the tracks that people would set and try to watch the train smash or whatever. Like straight up furniture. Like it's crazy what people would put on the tracks sometimes or whatever. So
yeah, I remember putting pennies on the track when I was little.
well, okay, right, but that's not going to derail it. Like
I don't know, man. I don't know.
maybe that's when the infrastructure is really bad, is when a penny does it. Like,
yeah,
all of this just caused by 8-year-olds in the woods, like trying to sneak in.
Well, there's some just staggering footage. We're going to go through a little bit of it. Here's something that Alex Stein reposted.
Massive train derailed.
I mean, look at that.
20 of them carrying hazardous materials.
dang,
I mean, that is insane.
that's nasty.
Yeah. This is the stuff that they're not showing on like national news.
So I have, speaking of things not on national news, have you seen I haven't had enough time to look into this enough, so I don't want to spread misinformation. But have you seen where like 20 miles up the track before it got to where it derailed, it was like people are saying it was like on fire already and like sparking and stuff. And
interesting.
Yeah.
I've not seen that yet.
There's footage of it that I saw that I can't tell if it's just the wheels sparking, like where they're just dragging, like if they're not rolling, or if it's literal flames. But like I said, I haven't looked into this a lot yet, but
they set the fire on purpose, right? Like it derailed.
Yes. And then after it derailed, they set the fire on purpose.
They're from what I heard, they're saying that it was a quote controlled burn, right? Yeah.
Yes. And that the controlled burn, their original story was that they were doing it because they were afraid that the fire that was already happening in another spot would reach these tankers. So they decided to burn them.
To burn it anyway.
But then it turns out that they did it just so they could get the train track back open, so they could get all this
to clear it
off.
faster. That's what it usually is. Yeah.
Which,
that's what that guy was saying when he said they nuked the town to get the train running.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. But thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then people are going to get sued like crazy. And like, I mean, come on, you're burning off insane chemicals, which we're about to see in the water in this river in Ohio. I'll show everybody. Here we go.
Whose authority, like whose decision is that to like make that call?
Is the company who ran the train.
It's a private decision to burn chemicals in a city? That's crazy.
They did it in conjunction with Ohio FEMA, I believe, or not Ohio FEMA, Ohio, some agency in Ohio.
The EPA.
EPA, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like EPA either.
No, they're useless. So this lady, you can see all the chemicals if your resolution is high enough.
Oh, the colors, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Look at it. It's all in the bottom of the creek bed.
I will say there's some amount of that's normal, I think. Well, it's not normal. It's not great that crap's getting in the water, but I live with a pond out back that gets fed from a stream that's like 100 yards away, and I still get some of that oily crap, but maybe not on that level.
That's an enormous amount, man.
Yeah. I would just challenge like what we're used to versus like what's supposed to be, like the word normal, but
yeah. And so then I found this guy who explains. So vinyl chloride is one of the things that's in the water. This is a 2-minute video, so just bear with me.
Sure, no worries.
He has some good information.
Used in like everything. The other thing about vinyl chloride is that it boils at 8 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's shipped in its liquid form, meaning that when these trains crashed and these started leaking, they weren't just leaking liquid, but they were spewing boiling gas. So vinyl chloride is really toxic. OSHA has the permissible limit of how much you can be exposed to it during an 8-hour shift as a 1 ppm part per million, average over 8 hours. So prior to this, the biggest spill of this chemical was in New Jersey, where one train car and about 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride were spilled, but it didn't catch on fire. Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000 pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train cars. There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad, because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and it turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio, are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially. Now, ever since engineering school, I've studied a lot of industrial accidents. I just find it really fascinating, and organizations like the Chemical Safety Board, NTSB, and OSHA all have like really good reports available to the public. I think as a designer, it's really good to learn about mistakes. When looking at these kinds of industrial disasters across time, there are a couple things that are pretty universal across all of them. One, the responsible party, in this case, Norfolk Southern Railway, always plays down the reality of the situation. Politicians also just repeat the same lines, and then news outlets just repeat the same. So all we're hearing is the responsible party's word.
Yeah, so that should raise some red flags. I mean, the fact that no one from the federal government has been there. Pete Buttigieg is technically in charge of this whole thing because he's the transportation secretary. Biden hasn't been there. Kamala hasn't been there. Like, the fact that no one is visiting this site should tell you exactly like how bad it is. But the fact that they're saying that they told all the residents the air is fine, go back to your homes,
Right.
like, that's kind of distressing. Yeah, I mean,
That's fun.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess it's distressing because of some of the other stuff that's been seen, right? Like, it's not that they're just saying it, but that people are also saying, oh, well, look at all this crap on my car after it rained. My car is disgusting after rain when it's normally not.
Yeah.
And fish and stuff dying. Well, in the creek that you showed. So
I mean, this has, I guess, the capacity to make acid rain at this point if they're burning it off. That's fun.
I mean, just look at that. Come on.
I can't hardly see it.
That's all. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Make it a little bigger.
There we go.
That's all. That's just a chemical cloud.
That's scary.
In the clouds. And apparently there's a storm headed that direction, which will make it far worse.
Is this why Nick isn't here tonight?
That's a good question. Let's see. Look at this. Here's a little video of somebody walking down.
Is it fish?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, the air is safe, y'all.
It's totally normal.
Yeah, it's definitely safe to eat those fish, and
it's just a biblical amount of dead fish. That's all.
Let's see. I mean, there are just some crazy videos from this daggone thing. Look at that.
Oh my God.
Look at that. I mean, it's insane.
That's impressive that we can have that effect, but that's probably not a good thing.
No.
That's good. Yeah, honestly.
Don't go outside when there's that kind of cloud above you. Like, people, you got to be wearing gas masks if you're going to be around there at this point. Full on hazmat suits.
That's gnarly.
What good is being in your house going to do, though?
I don't know. I mean,
a little bit.
It'll help a little bit for sure, especially if you have some. You can get some like hazmat level filters for your house. Like, we have the highest possible filter you can get for a home.
What do you know? Joking.
I mean, I know plenty. or I guess plenty. I don't know anything. Yeah. Speaking of that, like the theories that are going around, this guy is talking about train derails outside Detroit, Michigan, one in Texas, Arizona, and the Ohio one. So yeah, there are just trains derailing all over the place. But as we know, that's not uncommon.
Do we know the rate over time? Like, is this more this year than the annual average or something?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how many have derailed this year, or like how far above or below the regular, like the month time period is. Like
another thing I feel like people are saying is it doesn't have to be a conspiracy. There's not somebody out there putting shunts, but it's just that things have been neglected for so long because, you know, CSX and Norfolk Southern and whatever, they just want money. They don't care. So they're going to, you know, cut corners and trim things down where they can.
Yeah.
And then we have, you know, friggin' Pete Buttigieg. And it's not even that he's any worse than a normal, probably government bureaucrat that runs this. So, you know, they're just happy to be in DC. They don't know anything about trains. So,
yeah. And I mean, how often do you hear anyone in regular life talking about trains? Like talking about train tracks, unless you live near one, it's the last thing I think about.
Yeah, and when you live near one, you wish you didn't.
Yeah.
We lived in Savannah, 2 houses. We were the second house from the tracks.
I could throw a rock and hit the daggum tracks from our
Yeah.
house. Yeah, that was real annoying.
Really loud.
So this is what the most distressing part, in my opinion, is this map. So this is where the derailment happened, and this is the tributary that leads into the Mississippi.
Right.
And if all the chemicals are getting into that water, and mind you, they're still it's still on fire. Like there's still smoke and stuff going into the air. There's still chemicals being released. What I've read is some of these chemicals never disintegrate and never dissolve. They'll literally just seep down into the soil, and then over time they'll go into the plant life, into the water system underground. Like they don't break apart very easily. And a lot of them can cause some pretty horrendous ailments and diseases and stuff like that. But like the idea of it getting into our biggest, I think the Mississippi is our biggest river, right?
Pretty sure. I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of that
all those other rivers flowing into it. I mean, and it's the amount of water just flowing in the Mississippi. It's insane. I hope that maybe these chemicals aren't a drop in the bucket, but
yeah,
they probably are.
Yeah, it would. I wonder how much water it takes to dilute them to a point where they're not harmful.
Well, the guy said 1 part per million.
Yeah,
which still sounds like a lot. Like if I had 1 million drops, I don't want 1 drop of that being vinyl chloride.
Yeah, that sounds like too much to me.
Do we know if this was waste, like literal waste, or was this on its way to be utilized in making plastics or something?
Yeah, it was on its way to be. I think some of these are used for PVC.
That's what it sounded like.
They said, I forget that there were 4 or 5 products that they had mentioned, and PVC was one of them.
So just one of the things to watch out for with this is just adding to the concept of shortages and things like that. And now it's just more fodder for that, as far as, now
fixed or whatever.
Yeah. Mac says East Palestine's motto is the place you want to be.
That's a cruel irony.
That is so ironic. Oh my gosh.
Snapshot of Mordor death cloud.
Oh, that's terrible. But yeah, darn right, Grumpy Gnome, not anymore.
This with people I've heard say that they used this in World War I.
These
they've used vinyl chlorine and burned it as a weapon or dropped it as a weapon. Is that true at all? I wonder.
That sounds familiar. Hang on, I'm gonna look this up. Alden, do you have any knowledge of that?
I was just going to say that if you're burning it, I feel like that would just affect both sides equally, and that was a bad idea. But
I think so. I know. Okay, gas in the Great War. Here we go. Let's share this one. I don't know if this is going to lead us anywhere, but Several chemicals were weaponized in World War I. They deployed tear gas, ether xylyl bromide. Wasn't that one of the ones? Oh, xylyl bromide. Maybe not.
At least they
Ethyl.
all smell good, pleasant, aromatic.
Yeah, fruity and
Fruity.
pungent. Let's see. They irritate eyes and cause uncontrolled tearing. Large doses can cause temporary blindness. If inhaled, they also make it difficult to breathe. Let's see. Chlorine. So not what was this one?
Vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride. This is not vinyl chloride. Let's see. Chlorine is a diatomic gas about 2.5 times denser than air. It's a mix of pineapple and pepper is the smell. Doesn't sound so bad. It can react with water in the lungs to form hydrochloric acid, which is what he was talking about when it could.
So it has the
condense
same
up in
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll do that. So let's see. Chlorine.
I guess the thing with the burning vinyl chloride or chlorine, I can't even remember, it would react with the water in the atmosphere and form acid rain. But whatever this crap is would be at ground level. You breathe it in and then it burns your lungs.
Yeah.
Turns to acid
But
in
the stuff
you.
that they were burning goes up into the sky. So
Yeah.
this is the one I've heard was part of the shipment. That's not confirmed. I'm not 100%. Phosgene. Phosgene is horrendous stuff. I did a lot of research when I wrote one of my scripts on phosgene, and I used it in my script because of how horrendous it is. It can cause a whole bunch of problems. And again, I'm not 100% sure that was in the shipment, but I seem to remember it.
An industrial use for that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Highly toxic.
It's estimated that many as 85% of the gas deaths in World War I were a result of phosphine. Or
Phosgene.
That's phosgene.
Yeah. Or diphosgene. Yeah. Most commonly used was mustard gas, which was chlorethyl sulfide. Interesting.
That's the one I'm more familiar with.
Yeah, the mustard gas. In pure liquid form is colorless. Yeah, I mean, that's the one everybody knows about is mustard gas, just because it's easier to say than phosgene.
I think that's like colloquially like why I remember it is because it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
We just didn't have government fighting each other all the time. All these chemists would be focused on like, how do we make cool chemicals that do fun things? Not how do we kill people.
Right.
Instead of stashing it. I mean, that's honestly, we could spend too long on it, so I'll just do the short version. But like part of like after World War I, we didn't know what to do with this massive stash of chemicals because after the chemical warfare was, banned or whatever. Yeah. And we turned it into pesticides and we sprayed it on our crops. We diluted it, a lot of them down, and sprayed it on our own crops. Like that's literally where some of that started. But.
And I think the statistic is something like 70 or 80% of Americans test positive for Roundup in their blood.
Yeah. What do you know the actual name, like chemical name?
I forget the chemical.
Glyphosate.
Thank you. That's what it is.
There it is. Yeah. Yep. So you probably test positive for this, Alden.
I'm sure unfortunately, yeah, I'm sure I do.
Yeah, you're probably going to die young. I'm sorry to say.
If you eat oats or any of the other, crops that they spray it on all the time, and
I thought oats were healthy, Alden. Dadgummit.
They should be.
Yeah, it's just a shit show. Like, how anyone trusts what the major news networks say or what the government says is beyond me. Yeah. And like, how do you trust a company who is reporting and saying things about their own like problem that they caused?
Yeah, exactly. The conflict of interest is insane.
It's the last person you should trust. Get an investigative journalist in there who can actually do the work and present us with facts.
You should hire the journalists that are banned from all the other platforms. That's the
Yeah.
one I want to do it.
Yeah.
Problem is when investigative journalists do their job, they suddenly become kooky, you know, like too right wing, or
Yeah.
you know, like Cy Hirsch is right now the
Yep.
persona non grata because he unveiled something that they didn't want to be unveiled.
Yeah, which was
was
awesome.
obvious to everybody anyway. But
Yeah, but the amount of detail in his article on it was incredible. Like he went into the history behind that whole the whole pipeline through the whole Nord Stream pipeline. He went into all of it and like presented facts, sources, everything. He was like, yeah. And this happened with, you know, doctors during the pandemic and
Yeah.
journalists during the pandemic and all sorts of stuff. Like whoever says something that's opposite of what the corporate press is saying is a conspiracy theorist on that job. So
Yeah.
even if they agreed with you totally 5 minutes ago,
Yeah.
you just be
Yeah,
thrown under the bus.
no, that's actually the goalpost moving dramatically is an interesting phenomenon there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
gotta-
how many like protests and like how many times on Twitter before the pandemic did you see stuff about pharmaceutical companies not being able to be trusted and they're like the scourge of America and all this crap? And now it's like you must take their medicines.
People were sitting at home because of COVID watching, what was it, Dope Sick, being like, oh yeah, the pharmaceutical companies do suck. But
But I'm still gonna want to force you to get a vaccine that they produced. Alden, we can't hear you, buddy. I think something got disconnected or something. No, still can't hear you. I'll remove you for a minute and put you back in. Try that. Nope. No. You're just gone. The stream didn't like what you had to say. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a nut job.
they're getting even better. They don't have to ban the stream anymore. They just banned him.
That's very specific. Man, Alden, we still can't hear you, buddy. That's crazy. Maybe log back out and log back in. I'll remove you. Just go ahead and get out of here. Yeah, man, it like that the whole thing, it's bizarre that like news companies that get fewer views than podcasts still have most of the power. And it's because they're so in bed with the people in the government and they're just basically mouthpieces for the government, which has the ultimate power here in the United States. So
they're just like completely transparently sponsored by a military industrial complex and pharmaceuticals, where they'll be like, this puff piece on the war brought to you by Boeing. Or it's like, this reason why we should have vaccine mandates brought to you by the people who are making it.
Yeah. I think you're back, Alden.
Am I back?
Yes.
All right.
All right.
What happened? What I think did? So I had an alarm go off on my phone, and I was like, "Yeah, no, whatever." And then, but my phone just was like, "Nope, now we're done. We're glitched out."
Fair enough.
Back to you were talking about the vaccine mandates, and then who to trust and blah blah blah. And like half of the people, there's like this cross pollination of like, oh, like it's like a governor or someone on in Congress, but then they either used to be sitting on the board at Pfizer, or the people sitting on the board at Pfizer used to be in politics. Like why is that even allowed? It's insane.
They call it the revolving door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why is it normal? why do we have a name?
It's allowed. It's allowed because they all want to participate in it.
Yeah,
and then
it's insane.
It's done as a way, you do your service or whatever in the EPA or FEC, and then whatever. I'm naming random letters there.
No.
And then you get your bribe later when they give you your high-powered job, your high-paying job where you do nothing. So,
and then there's people, they outperform Warren Buffett. You know what I mean? Like as far as like their stock portfolios, like when they get closed door meetings about things like this, like whatever. I don't know, man.
I mean, it's bananas. I mean, but like, what do you expect? Like, you're expecting a government agency who makes all the laws to make laws against themselves.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
Like, how is that ever going to work? Like, how do you? I don't understand how people have any hope in a system where the people in charge play by different rules and do so because they make the rules.
Yeah.
How is that ever going to change?
It's like
Yeah.
hoping for a really good code of conduct from the Crips. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
hoping the cops will pull themselves over when they're speeding.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. But when people try to do that, they end up at the bottom of a river somewhere.
Yeah. Well, all the way back to the beginning here, the event that you're talking about, when it's like, oh, well, like, like one of the goals is to, like, get rid of the CIA. And I'm like, well, the last couple of times that people have said that, it didn't pan out well for them. So be careful. But
yeah,
ooh.
I mean, and I think that's kind of what does it. I forget. I think I was listening to Tim Pool the other day. They were talking about some journalists who exposed. No, I think it was Rogan. Kyle Kalinske, I think, talked about it. Journalists exposed like Chevron or one of the big gas companies. They were in Ecuador, and basically their plants, like their chemical plants, were causing a whole bunch of problems and like harming a bunch of people, and like their chemical spills all over the place and stuff like that. And he exposed it there. And in Ecuador, the company, whoever it was, Chevron, Exxon, one of those, they got kicked out. So they said, you can't do this here anymore. You're gone. Well, the company brought it back to the United States and sued the journalist and won.
Yeah.
And he spent, what was it? 900 and something days on house arrest, and some like a month in jail.
Wow.
Whereas just waiting for trial. He hadn't even been convicted yet. He was just waiting to go on trial. And the maximum sentence for what they were accusing him of was 1 month of house arrest.
And wow.
And he spent 900 and something days in house arrest.
Wow. Unbelievable. I mean, I say unbelievable. That's not true. I believe it. Like I've followed similar enough stories, and I don't know how they do, but they keep getting away with it. They just have like the worst / best lawyers in the world,
Yeah, I mean, but the point of that was to be like, it's like a warning signal to be like, if you're a journalist and you do this is what will happen to you.
Yep.
It's like, we're going to make an example out of this person so that the rest of you stay in line. And that's exactly what happens. That's why people are too scared to stand up for what they truly believe in. Like I was talking on Free Georgia podcast. I was talking to Daywalker Comedy, Amanda Miller, this past week. And she said, you wouldn't believe how many people in the film industry, when you get them alone, will tell you exactly how they really feel. And they're not on board with half the crap that is spewed by Hollywood, but they have to stay in line. Otherwise they'll lose their entire
They're afraid
career.
to lose their jobs. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And talk about a mafia mentality. Like, just ruling with fear.
Fear, yeah, absolutely.
The nice thing is now you don't have to be in that system. That might be easier. Sure. And if you just, got along and stayed in that system, you may do well, but you can get outside of it and create your own thing now.
That's true.
And she's doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah, she's definitely doing it. Not everybody, I will say, that's not in the cards for everybody. I don't truly believe that everyone can pivot like that. Especially people who have like families and like have to support people for the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever.
The really extreme cases too, they will block you from getting paid via Venmo and PayPal and all these other different places, like all of the avenues that you have at your supposed disposal to create your own business. Like they honestly, sometimes those companies are all like, yeah, but not you. And they just won't let you use their services.
Oh, PayPal has that in their terms and conditions.
Yeah.
They can, if they don't like how you're presenting yourself in the public eye, on social media or whatever, in their terms and service, it says they can just take out up to $3,000 from your account.
Yeah. So this brings up actually like a fundamental kind of like libertarian question.
Okay.
Which is, how then, do we, I'm going to bumble over this question because like it's so big, I don't even know how to like word it. But like, how then do we go about, because I would like to be able to be like, okay, private companies just like make your own whole, deal, and like we don't have to have like legislate, you know, private companies and things like that. But
Mhm.
when private companies get so big, the things like Apple and Facebook and Google and Venmo and whatever, that like it's more of like a utility now that is just run by a private sector, then how do you, you know, work with that?
So I would there are multiple levels to this. The first one being they I how do you think Google got so big? It was
Oh no,
by
it was CIA
being
gave
in
them,
bed with the government
yeah,
and
yeah.
them allowing them to get so big and helping them to get so big.
Facebook, Google, a lot of the
Yeah.
tech companies, CIA specifically, gave them their technology basically.
Yes.
Because
I don't
now they
think-
don't have the oversight, you know, public oversight or whatever.
Yeah.
Like anyway.
Yeah.
And then
I think
once-
it's possible without government protection, there wouldn't be a ton of corporations getting very big at all.
That's an
For
interesting
instance,
point, yeah.
like Norfolk Southern right now, whatever they just did to East Palestine should probably ruin them, but it won't
No,
because government will protect them.
the same as like 2008 and all that and whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and so when you have the government protecting these companies and helping these companies, then they're allowed to grow and squash the competition. And competition is what capitalism is all about.
It's supposed to be, right,
Yeah.
healthy capitalism.
Because
Yeah.
what we do not live in a capitalist society. We live in a corporatist society.
Thank you for
where-
the distinction, actually. Yeah.
where the government and a lot of corporations are basically the same thing, or at least act in tandem with each other and coordinate with each other, as
Right.
shown by the Twitter files. Like all these
Right.
files that came out showing that higher ups at Twitter and moderators at Twitter had received contact from the FBI and been
Oh, yeah.
told, don't promote this, don't do this, don't
They
do
have
that.
marching orders for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all knew it. Now we just know it, you know? like,
Yes.
yeah.
But it's really important to see that because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anything's going to come of it in like court or anything. I know that the Republicans who are on this committee that are going through everything.
Well, it'll take 20 years and by then the world will end and whatever. But
Yeah.
COVID was a very good example of that too, where it's like, you know, you're locked down. You can't go to the mom and pop furniture store down the road.
right.
But you
Yeah.
can buy on Amazon, no problem.
Yeah.
Or you can still go to Walmart. Of course, that's essential, but the mom and pop store isn't.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I got
Yeah.
into like an argument with my family about this. Like when I was trying to talk to like my sister about it, and I was like, oh my goodness, like she, you know, she's like, why would anyone like want this? Right. Because I was kind of arguing that at the very least, people are taking advantage of it, right? Whether it was created or not. We won't need to even get into that necessarily, right?
Right.
And she's like, everyone's losing money. And I'm like, first of all, that's not how money works. Money goes somewhere. Like not everyone can't just lose money, right? And I was like, look at the record profits of companies like, you know, Amazon and Walmart and Pfizer and whatever. And I'm like, that's where the money's going. So like they have a vested interest in it going this way, you know.
Yep.
I don't know. It just it frustrates me. But
it was something like 86% of the $7 or $8 trillion that we printed during the lockdowns went to the top 1% of people in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of the biggest transfers of
Yep.
wealth from one class to another in maybe world history. I don't know.
Yeah.
that's how the money from the Fed flows. When there's easy money, they're not sending us checks. We don't, you know, check our mailbox and find a check there from the Fed. It's
We
going
got
to,
a $600 check, Zach. Come on.
Oh yeah, I forgot about all that. Yeah, never mind. That got you through 2 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So
Right.
never mind. There was a little Fed money in our mailboxes, but mostly it'll go to like Chase Bank or
Yeah.
Wells Fargo or any of these big ones that just, you know, will turn around and fund,
Yep.
you know, more like corporations and
Well, and now it's funny that we all got a $600 check, but now we've probably all paid more than $600 in inflation stuff in the years after
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
you know, so
Oh, yeah.
it's
And-
not like it helped, you know.
And even though they were giving out free money, they still couldn't even be honest about that. Because I remember one of Biden's big things was $2,000 checks are going out as soon as I'm president. And then like a month later, people are checking their watches, and I think they got an 1,800 or something like that. It still wasn't even exactly what he said.
Right.
Well, he didn't know the exact number. 2,000 and 1,800 are the exact same thing to him. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't care.
He's
But-
never seen that such a small amount of money. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Alden, I think like Zach's really right. Like, I don't think there'd be as many mega corporations if the government wasn't helping.
No,
them
I
out.
agree. The problem is that we're here now, though.
We're here now, and
they are the center of mass already at this point, so it's just hard to deal with.
The issue, I mean, what needs to happen, this won't happen, but what needs to happen is government having zero correspondence with companies, period.
Like, that like the lobbying is just like not a thing.
No more lobbying. No more donating to campaigns. Get money.
I wanted to say that too. So one of the worst things. I mean, I was just talking about this like on a rant to my girlfriend the other day. She's tired of hearing me about it. Like two of the worst things. I'll say two of the worst things. Like in the history of like modern American history or whatever was the gold standard just getting just done away with, and the banking system changing after that with the fractional reserve banking system and all of that. And then I already forgot what was the other thing. Oh, corporations being ruled legally as people, as individuals, because now that's like one of the things where it's like, oh, well, of course they can donate. They're a person. And it's like, what? Get out of here with
free speech.
They
called campaign donations free speech,
and they can sue you, going back to that other thing, for like damages and slander and whatever, because they have the same rights as a person and all of that. So it's insane.
Sarah Higdon is on Timcast for Trumper. He puts a lot of L's on his show. It's true. He does. I don't think he's a full-on Trumper. He just liked Trump more than. Do you watch Timcast at all, Alden?
Timcast? What's Timcast?
Timcast.
Tim Pool. I don't know.
Yeah, Tim Pool.
Then okay.
His show is Timcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Periodically, I find him. I think I've seen him more as like a guest on other people's shows than I have his own show. Yeah. That's why I don't know the name as well. But he's okay. I like some of what he digs up, and yeah,
he's good, and he's like building a nice little journalism website and all that kind of stuff. Like he's doing really well. But one of the people who was on this show last week is on his show today. He's like the biggest show on YouTube, like for like 8 to 10 or whatever, 8 to 9:30 or whatever it is. Like he gets something like 50 to 130,000 people watching live.
Wow.
Which is
that's
pretty
a
impressive.
lot live. Yeah.
That's a lot for a YouTube show watching live. Like we're at 3 right now, so we're getting there.
Hey.
Yeah, but we I mean this YouTube channel was dead for like 2 years or like a year and a half, so there was like nothing going on it, but building it up now. What were we just talking about?
How shitty things are.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, let's talk about some more shitty things.
Just talking crap about corporations, I think.
Yeah,
that was it. Just corporations suck. Government helps them suck.
Right.
They probably wouldn't suck so bad. Well, actually, they wouldn't exist at all without government, and they wouldn't be protected, or be no favoritism there.
Yeah.
If I spilled a bunch of chemicals in your yard and set it on fire, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, if I do that and I call myself a corporation, I'm not in as much trouble. So
yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point. So there's been something that our communications director, Elizabeth Melton, has been really focusing on for the past 6 or 7 months. And it's these things that they're labeling as smart cities. Okay. I did a whole podcast on this. You can go back and watch it, Alden. You should go watch it. You'd love it.
All right, then.
And
more to come on that soon.
Yeah, more to come on that soon. And she sent me this video today, where they're implementing. Hang on, let me get it there. There we go. So this is in Oxford, in the UK, and these are the same kinds of things that they're implementing here in Georgia. So here we go. Alden, did we lose you?
I was just turning my screen brightness down to save my battery a little.
Gotcha. All right.
I'll be right back.
So. Okay, cool. The video is mediocre. It's only 51 seconds. It's not. Just bear with me. It's very mediocre.
Recently, we've seen a lot of misinformation about traffic filters circulating online.
Yeah.
We have been receiving many calls and emails from worried residents in genuine fear that they might be locked in their own homes. This is categorically untrue. We are not planning a climate lockdown or a lockdown of any kind.
Yeah.
They're not steel walls or electronic gates. They're simply traffic cameras that can read number plates.
Is this
If
right?
you do not have an exemption or a residence permit, you will receive a fine in the post.
So
Yeah, right, exactly.
yeah, so this is something that she's been really passionate about talking about for a while. I think I've done a couple podcasts on this. I did one on a World Economic Forum speech where they talked about some of this tech, and basically they're selling them as smart cities. So they're basically saying like you're going to be safer, like that's how they get you. Everything will be more convenient and you'll be safer. And
because every time something happens, everyone has all this footage available. We don't have footage from, oh my god, never mind, I'm gonna get on a tirade about it, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein, the cameras were down in jail, or if it's 9/11 or the Pentagon or whatever. Like there's it's never helped anybody, but whatever.
No. And so like here, I'll actually pull it up. So share this tab instead. So yeah, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch this 50-minute long presentation, The Smart City, A Threat to Liberty. It talks about how they use cameras, how they use like heat sensing technology.
Yeah.
That's to see
scary.
if someone has like a fever and
oh my god, it's that sensitive to the degree.
Yep.
That's really scary.
They have
oh my god,
drones that launch from the top of light poles and telephone poles to go track people at a moment's notice.
Wow.
They basically have every single possible way to track people, and like they said in the video, not lock them in their house, but you will be fined out the wazoo.
Yeah,
if you'll
just
leave
be
your
dissuaded every other way. Like,
yes.
Okay, yeah,
yes. And
reminds me of Australia during the pandemic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Where they would like read your license plate out and then go arrest you or whatever, like because you weren't at your home. Or I mean, it's just insane.
Oh, it's insane.
That was worse than I even thought that they were going to be over there. Like,
yeah,
during that, but whatever.
Yeah, and like New Zealand, their last prime minister was terrible. Their new prime minister is just as terrible. They had
I don't know the new one.
Horrid responses to COVID. He said basically the other day, what did he say? I was listening to him talk. He said, anybody who has not been vaccinated, we will track you down, we will hunt you down, and we will put the vaccine in you.
These are literal statements, words that.
Yep, not word for word, but
that's
concept, what he said. Yeah. It's not even the gist. Like that's basically what he said.
Wow.
Like, I'm not super paraphrasing or anything. I'm not putting words in his mouth. Like he said, basically, we will find you and you will get the vaccine.
Wow. So
he's
fun.
not any better than the last one because she was terrible too. But
yeah.
What we're trying to do is really bring awareness to these smart cities because we're trying to rebrand them as spy cities.
Yeah, I mean it's what it is. Yeah,
it's what it is. So like what you were talking about with the whole Venmo and PayPal thing, that will be linked to how how good of a citizen you are within that city.
Do we approve of how you're spending your money, running your business? Like, yeah right.
Yep. This is why everybody has to get into Bitcoin. Like,
I wish I had more money to invest in it, honestly, right now, but I'm like scraping by.
That's fair. Let's see. Matt Carter says marijuana tax. The local government wants their cut of all things paid for in cash. Their best stopgap measure until they can fully implement all digital currency, and that's what's coming. That's what's coming. The CBDC, central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
Once that happens, if you still have all your money in your bank, like in a regular bank account, you're pretty much screwed. Like they will monitor every single transaction you ever make. They will take money out at any given moment for taxes you owe.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll know exactly. I mean, they already know how much taxes they think you owe, and now they'll just take it from you. They won't even.
Which brings up the question of why do we have to file them then?
Well,
pay to file them if they already know.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I heard some representative saying the other day is like he tried to spin it into a good thing. He's like, now you don't have to do your taxes because they just take it right out of your bank account.
Yeah, they're gonna do that.
Okay.
And people will buy into it. They'll be like, "Oh, that sounds good. I don't want to pay $30 for TurboTax." So.
Convenience has been what we've just volunteered our rights away to for the past 20 years or more. Like, ugh.
So this is interesting. Okay, so Elizabeth's talking about in Oxfordshire, that video we just watched. You will not be able to travel outside of your 15-minute district without permission, or you will be fined.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna live in the woods. Is what I'm gonna do.
Yes, yes, you can come. You can come live with me and Nikki in the woods.
Some of those things you mentioned aren't even the worst of CBCDs, because remember back in especially the Bush days, and we're invading Iraq and whatever, and they're like, go spend your money. This needs to be the best Christmas ever. Spend, 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 spend.
I remember
because
that.
they were like, that stimulates the economy, and that's what we need to fund the war machine.
Yep.
Well, they could simulate that with negative interest rates, meaning you have $1,000 sitting in your account. Well, 2% of that's going to get eaten up every year or every month or whatever.
Wow.
So you have to spend it because there's no savings. So they, perpetual
it's
spending.
incentivized to lose it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want a really good explanation with a visual representation, go watch Divide and Dominate now on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Nice.
Laura nailed it. We have to file taxes now because TurboTax, H&R Block, etc. buys off politicians to keep the tax code complex.
I've always thought that, honestly, just like without research, just a hunch. But
I mean, that's exactly true. Like,
law in general is overly complex, like for the exclusionary reasons. Like,
yes, our accountant is just like, I really wish they would make personal tax returns just a flat rate, period. This is it. No exemptions.
How much?
Like, no nothing. Just
how much money? An entire industry built around it just because it's overly complicated for like no reason. Like,
yeah, how many people would lose jobs tomorrow if they got rid of income tax?
I don't know, honestly.
Tens of thousands.
Stuff like that. A bunch of compliance and just regulation, and we don't
That's
have any of it.
Every
That's what I
IRS
see government
agent,
as a bunch of jobs that don't need to be there that just are because we're used to it, like.
Yeah, no, it's these smart city thing. Yeah, if whoever has not watched Elizabeth's presentation on this, go to our YouTube channel. You can find it there, along with all the Free Georgia podcasts where we talk about some of these issues in some of the episodes. Because this presentation, it's 50 minutes, so it's not short, but it's broken up into chapters. You can check out all the chapters, and it life in a smart city. What is a smart city? Why? And like facial recognition, digital identity, like all sorts of stuff, artificial intelligence. So like, go watch this because it's very informative and super helpful to know exactly what it's already being implemented. It's not. This isn't something that is coming. It's here.
It's been soft implemented, already.
Yeah.
Like,
they know how much we owe. Other countries have a simple system where the government simply sends you a statement in the mail showing how much you owe. Every time a bill comes up to get that here, the tax prep companies kill it. Yep. That is not surprising at all. This is why get lobbying out.
Yeah, I was just
campaigns.
I'm glad you said. I was going to circle back to that concept. Yeah.
That I mean, that's what I don't know why people are so obsessed with democracy, but the way to kill democracy is exactly that, to get money into it. Like, as soon as money enters the ring, and all these people who are still just people, like in their heart, they might want to do good for everybody, but in reality, when push comes to shove, and when some information is held above your head, or when you're presented with an insane amount of money, most people are going to cave. And the people who want to be in power are going to be the ones who take that money because they're narcissistic most of the time and they want to have the power.
Yeah. Even at just like the base level of it, even before you get into other things more complicated or malicious or conspiratorial or whatever, like that's still at least just true, and it's still just that problem of like governing yourself and regulating yourself. And
Zach, do you know where they can do this? Download her Smart Cities Toolkit?
Yeah, it's like you set me up. Although you don't even know who you are. Banishbigbrother.com.
Let's just pull that up real quick. Why don't we? Banishbigbrother.com.
I'm gonna hop off and see if I can't use my iPad to hop back on, just because my phone battery is like literally gone.
We'll see you in a minute.
And if you don't, it's because I am not tech savvy.
All right. All right. You can go to, let me pull it back up. There we go. Banishbigbrother.com. Get your essential toolkit for privacy activists, community organizers, and concerned citizens alike. I love it. That's cool. I think I already have the toolkit, but yeah, you can put in your email. I don't know why I keep clicking on that. It's showing all my emails. Whoops.
Send one to every email.
Let's see. Steve just said something. Flu-ridden Steve. Ohio pickup lines be like, hey, girl, you're glowing because you're an angel, or is that just the isobutylene? Steve, you're about, let's see, an hour late on that comment, but good job. Good job. Yeah, so go to banishbigbrother.com to download that toolkit and go to our YouTube channel to watch the presentation. And yeah, what we would like people to do is take that to their city council, to their like county commissioner, all these people, and present it to them and show it to people to, show the severity of what's about to happen to everybody.
Going to Banish Big Brother and putting your email in there and downloading it, that'll get you on the list too, to be up to date with the next things we come out with. Because Elizabeth wrote a speech or presentation, I don't know what you want to call it, but a template for what you say in front of your city council too. So that'll be coming out next. So
that's awesome.
And just other things like that to help, distribute this across Georgia and really wherever else.
Yeah, that kind of thing is super helpful, because I know a lot of people would like to do this kind of thing, but they don't know what to say and they're too scared, too nervous to put it in their own words. So having that kind of outline and like, here's the wording, that's crucial and that's amazing. Let's see. Laura says, I get my taxes done with a local CPA. I'm supporting local business. It's cheaper. I get a bigger refund and I'm not supporting the big. We do too, Laura. It's great. We get a massive refund. We barely pay any taxes, but that also means it's hard for us to get a loan because all the loans are government backed. And when you don't show any income, you can't really get a loan for house, property, anything like that. It's very difficult. So if you have suggestions on that, put that in the comments, because me and my wife would love to know. We've had massive problems so we owned a condo in LA, and we tried to buy the house here, the one I'm currently in, which is a lower price, a lower payment. And we sold that to get this, and we sold that and we couldn't get this without getting a cosigner. So we were paying more while we were in California. And then when we got this house, we were paying less, but they still wouldn't give us the loan because we didn't show any income on our taxes. I mean, the system's just so freaking stupid. We have perfect credit and we still couldn't get daggum loan. It's absurd.
Yeah, which is why we're going to need these like parallel institutions and alternate stuff, because the more that they're going to CBCDs and we're going to Bitcoin, we're going to get further apart and we're not going to speak each other's languages. So
yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I'm very excited about Bitcoin. I get more excited every single day. Let's see. I gotta already watched that. Sorry, y'all. I'm skimming through my, let's see. Steve's still talking about stuff from an hour ago. Remember when the EPA collapsed a mine in Colorado and tainted the whole river for miles? I do remember that. I saw a before and after picture of the river today, actually. It was crystal clear, and then it was brown as crap. Yep.
I have a feeling Steve with the flu would still be better. Like,
yeah, he offered to come on, but I told him, please
Yeah.
rest up. Like, I don't need you here with the flu. It doesn't really make any sense. Let's see. You know what? I'm not going to show the cop video that I had planned for the night. I don't want to end on that kind of depressing note. Let's see. Damn, Steve, that's a hell of a lag. Yes, it is. Let's see. Did you have any other topics you want to talk about, Zach?
I didn't even think I was going to be on here, so I didn't come prepared at all.
Oh, when are you ever prepared? Hey, still Alden is back.
Nice.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
So,
just running.
is that a
out of
Coors with a K?
This is a vitamin R, as we call it.
I just assumed you were still drinking Coors and something had changed.
It's a Mandela effect. This is actually a split of our base universe, and now Coors has always been with a K. But.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got just a funny clip of our vice president.
Is there a non-funny one?
This is her talking about riding in an electric bus and using electric cars.
No exhaust, no diesel smell. The bus has Wi-Fi and even USB outlets next to every seat. I mean, come on, imagine. You can charge your phone on your way home from work. That's good stuff.
So, first of all, we could do outlets with any bus. That's not specific to this.
My gas car has an outlet.
Yeah, like that's not an electric thing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure tons of buses that I've ridden on have USB outlets that are
And Wi-Fi.
And Wi-Fi. Like, you don't need any of that to be an electric bus. I mean, look at that face. Why is she so excited about this?
That's weird, honestly, the level of excitement.
Are we sure?
I don't have anything against electric buses. I just hate buses in general.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Are we sure she's still like, she's a completely different person than that first debate in the Democratic primary back in, like, whenever that was, 2016, whenever that was.
I feel like they get memo like notes of like, this is who you need to be, like this.
I feel like they just inject them with something because she's never this expressive. Like, she comes off as an insane person.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
Something's definitely keeping Biden awake.
Well,
I mean, that's got to be chemical. Like,
yeah, but also something was keeping Trump awake. Like,
the train full of chemicals that exploded, that was on the way to Biden to
that makes more sense. I like that a lot. Yeah.
That was his cocktail.
But they talked about it when Trump was president. They said that he did a lot of Ambien, I think. Or maybe all of them do.
I thought he did Sudafed. I thought that's what he had, and I thought when he opened the White House, the drawer of the desk one time, it was just like boxes of Sudafed.
That's stupid though. Like, why would you take Sudafed when you have access to the best stuff?
I don't know.
You're gonna go to the drugstore and buy stackers or whatever. Like,
I just feel like maybe he had been doing it for years and it was working for him, and that's how he kept all his energy. Yeah, I mean,
he's still eating McDonald's and taking gas station pills.
Yeah, but so is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett eats McDonald's and drinks Coke all the time. And
yeah, but he has stock in Coke, so he wants us to see that. You know,
that's fair.
I'm kidding. I don't know.
Let's see. Savannah just spent a lot of money on several electric school buses to virtue signal when there's a shortage of drivers and the remaining ones want to be paid more. Makes no sense. I didn't even know there were electric school buses. When did that happen? And how do we have the money for that? And why are they doing that?
Yeah. The money thing is interesting with that, and like the whole concept of again with like I don't even know where to start with the whole like gas concept. And our grid can't, it's going back to infrastructure. our electrical grid cannot handle if like everyone has like an electric vehicle. It just can't do it the way that we are now. There's no way.
And what was it? Somebody was saying on Rogan who was talking about like lithium mining and the minerals you need for
I
it.
watched that. Yeah.
You would have to increase like mining of the things needed to make batteries would have to increase in such a way that is no mining has ever done in history, and that is possibly impossible.
Yeah, and if we did do it, it would be really harmful to the labor force, the people like on the fair trade, like humanitarian level, the environment in terms of like the strip mining kind of things, and it's not without its own costs. I don't know. People act like it's like, and then the other thing is like if everything's electric, I think it's 60% or 2/3 of I mean, just speaking about this country, is run on fossil fuels anyway, and so like then you're.
Yep.
You know, talking
you're just
about
exporting. I mean, somebody said it the best. When you buy an electric car, yeah, you don't have any emissions. You're exporting your emissions.
Yeah, they only measure the vehicle itself as a closed system, as if that like mining it, building it, shipping it, you know, all of that didn't happen. Yeah.
Technically speaking, they did a cost analysis for like CO2 or whatever it releases, and the best vehicle you can buy for the environmental cause is a hybrid. It's not an electric car.
Hybridization is better, I would say. Like, but then even with that, like, here's where the government thing kind of steps in a way that I don't like, which is like telling automakers or certain states that they can't sell cars with that unless they're hybrids, or giving tax incentives to people to buy electric vehicles or whatever, like, because this is putting an artificial level of demand, injecting artificial demand into the system, which again is not, you know, capitalism,
and it's not sustainable either.
No, it's not sustainable at all.
Warren makes an interesting comment. Do you think Dianne Feinstein is stepping down from the Senate to replace Kamala in 2024? What do you think?
I don't know.
Do you know? Or
Like
do you have thoughts on it? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, unless they are really dumb, because she's almost more unlikable than Kamala.
Is she?
I don't know much about her.
She tries to ban the shoulder thing that goes up on our guns.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're both pretty unlikable. I think.
What shoulder thing?
She tried to explain what something on a gun was once, and she said it's the shoulder thing that goes up.
What? These are her words. Oh,
yeah. No,
I was like,
words.
What is that? The stock, or like, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, isn't Kamala the worst rated VP in history? Like, no one likes her. So can you even,
like her more than
even
Dick
be worse? That's fair. I mean, I do too.
More than who?
Dick Cheney.
I was gonna mention Dick Cheney, but he was kind of like the proxy president, so it's kind of a different thing. So
yeah, he was better at it, I guess.
Grumpy Gnome wants the drugs that Biden's on. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Max says about Kamala, she's just a horrible actress, and perhaps the vaccine has only led to further degeneration of her mental faculties. All of the old Savannah buses are parked at our closed elementary school. Unbelievable. So they didn't even just get new ones to add to the fleet. They retired old ones.
See, and so this is another problem of where does the money come from? Then you're retiring old vehicles that could have been used longer. So making just like filling landfills with just more buses and cars and things, that's not helpful. Like, I don't know.
I heard my buddy Chris, who I'm going to try to get on this show at some point. He talked about, he follows this guy on YouTube who buys old buses and basically dug out a massive area and bought like 20 or 30 old buses over time, welded them all together, buried them, and made a massive bunker just made of buses.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. I was like, that is like, because you can get them for like $1,500 if they're not running anymore.
Right. If you
And
only
like
need
the metal
frame.
is worth way more than that.
I've always wondered why you can get some things that are just so full of metal for so cheap sometimes. It's
Because people
crazy.
don't want to repurpose them. And people don't want to go through the struggle but like if you're not going to if you're not really going to like, you know, undo it and take it apart and like redo the metal, and you're just going to use it as like rooms and stuff, that's a pretty genius idea. That's cheaper than
the freight container, the shipping containers, because they've gone crazy expensive recently. But
you can
now that we started building houses out of them.
I mean,
bury my RV now.
We had I don't know if it was a record or tying a record, but a very high number of reported shipping containers just falling into the ocean this past year too was another thing.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
And
that was funny. Alden, you froze, buddy.
Oh no.
And what?
Do you still hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
Okay. Like a record number of, like an insane number of damage to food processing facilities this year, or this now it's last year, you know, but I mean, like the average is like 6, and we had like 100 and I don't know 30. I lost track at some point, like just with the amount of things that are going on.
It is disturbing. And like I've heard reports both ways. So I've heard that we generally have a lot, and that last year was only barely more.
This is like the train.
This is like
question almost. Like,
yeah, exactly. And so like I'm not 100% positive on that. But it is interesting. Like a year after they locked everything down and didn't produce anything, that stuff it continues to get burned, or like factories.
What about this, where people are having on their private property, the government's coming in and saying that we need to kill all the deer on your property because they have chronic wasting disease or whatever, things like that.
I've not heard of this.
Yeah, it's scary.
Interesting.
Yeah, if they just get an expert to claim that it's chronic wasting disease or whatever they say with the deer, they can come into a private residence and kill all the deer. Like, I mean, this is what someone told me that they happened on their property, but.
Interesting. I wonder how you become an expert in something and get people to listen to you.
Yeah,
that's the key, I think.
Make crap up and be far away. That's it.
Yeah, with a lot of things, whether it's like, you know, our own human history or like deer diseases. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I was watching this terrible documentary with my wife the other day about who's the drug lord in Colombia for a while? Escobar. How he imported hippos, and over the years the hippos got more populated and broke out of their facility, and were like in the rivers. Mind you, there's still only 130 daggum hippos down there, so it's not like there's stampedes of them all over the place.
Not as bad as the pythons in Florida or whatever.
But they made a law that you couldn't kill them because some activists saw that they had gone hunting for them because they were hurting people and destroying property and stuff.
Invasive species are protected now?
They're protected now.
It's a protected invasive species. That's really weird.
Yes.
I've never heard of
all
that.
Because people in the city, thousands of miles away, found it repulsive that they would go kill hippos.
Oh, so now I see why you brought that up in this when we're talking about the far away thing, like the NIMBY effect, the not in my backyard thing of like
I've heard the same thing with, you know, like tigers or whatever, where it's like we think, oh, some cute tiger, but the person who has to live next to him is like, yeah, kill that thing or it's gonna kill me, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we have some property up in Montana, and one of our neighbors is like, please don't kill the bear that's on your property because we really like him. It's a 550-pound brown bear. It's like, if that thing comes anywhere near me, I'm gonna shoot that thing dead. Like, give me a break. Don't tell me not to kill a bear on my own property.
I'll give it one morning shot, and if it doesn't turn around, the next one's for him. Like,
that's insane.
Oh man.
Let's see. Did you see that where they're bringing back the woolly mammoth, a la Jurassic Park, supposedly I didn't know the combat climate change part, but I did know that they're bringing the woolly mammoth back.
I thought cows' farts were a huge problem. Why would woolly mammoth farts be any better? Like,
that's a good question. Much bigger farts.
Yeah, well, they eat the same. It's all grass-based diet. I don't know how many stomachs they have or whatever, but I imagine
I know releasing them in like Alaska up north. And I think the goal was to have like 100, 200, something like that by the year.
Are we talking about woolly mammoths?
Yeah, by the year like 2050.
When did this become like this is like, wait, this is really happening?
They replicated, they got woolly mammoth bones out of the ice or something.
That had preserved marrow or some.
Yep, mixed it with the Indian elephant, I believe, which is the only elephant that could take.
It was close enough genetically.
Receive it, yes.
Yeah, that they could blend it
and
to
so
fill in the holes. This is Jurassic Park, then.
And now they're birthing woolly mammoths. And
the Indian elephants are the mother, like what do you call it, inseminated artificially or whatever. And it's like
so it'll be a hybrid, but it'll be a woolly mammoth, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Medium article about this says that as they were roaming, they would break up the snow, allowing plants to grow. So since they've been extinct, there hasn't been anything huge, stomping on the snow and allowing plants to come up.
Oh, sure, yeah. All those plants we need growing up
in the taiga. Yeah, right.
I mean, on one side, it'll be really cool to see a woolly mammoth in person.
It totally would.
Why is it that it's like for climate change, it's like we can either scale down the military and maybe not be the world's biggest polluter and drop bombs and test nukes and all this crap,
or we
could bring back woolly mammoths.
With what is the science behind the argument that they're gonna? So it's the taiga tundra version of the desertification thing where they bring animals to areas that are sandy to like root around and fertilize the soil or whatever. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm open to that, but I feel like let's
just end the military-industrial complex.
I was gonna say let's work on more known things first. I think
if you're worried about the environment, that would be the biggest thing to stop because they pollute more than most countries,
and they're not regulated like other companies are.
They're not regulated at all.
Well, that's what I mean. Like they can they burn whatever they want. They use whatever fuel they want. They just make pits. They pour diesel fuel over just things and they just go, it'll cost too much to get rid of this the right way. So we're just going to burn it. And then the people that are working by the pits get cancer. And then they go, we don't want to pay for your health insurance or whatever.
Jon Stewart comes and saves the day.
I was going to say, he actually did a show on this. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing one contained in a zoo, but hundreds of them. What could possibly go wrong?
I don't think we should just let them loose in an environment that they've not been in for 10,000 years. Have we not seen Jurassic Park? This is the plot line of Jurassic Park,
right?
We know what could go wrong. We
do know, yeah.
Oh, let's see. My wife just sent me something.
On a whole other episode, we could go into a whole thing about why they did go extinct and the theories about that and all of that, but we'll save that for a whole other time.
Well, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Have you been watching Ancient Apocalypse?
So yes, and I like a lot of it. I differ with some of it or whatever, and we could go into a whole thing on.
We've talked about that on this thing before.
Have you really?
Yeah. I think we brought it up last week and maybe the week before. But
yeah, please don't hold back at all for our sake. We've talked about some crazy crap on this show. So
okay, in my circles, I'm the weirdest one of my friends usually, and so
you're not in libertarian circles.
That's right. I'm not enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were suspicious about you. We're like, I don't know, an artist.
But yeah, I kind of agree with you. Ancient Apocalypse, really good show, but I think it feels like it's a beginner's show.
It totally is. It's
lightly introducing people to this.
It's the mainstream
idea.
Yes, it's the mainstream-ish kind of flavor of something. It's a little. I mean, the show itself, the flavor of the show, I don't like. It went with that History Channel. It went with the History Channel thing where they're all over dramatized and I don't know, man.
The narration got to me. I love Graham Hancock is great and his voice is perfect for that. But
right,
let's make it a little less dramatic.
Agreed, honestly. I think it cheapens it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would argue so the main thing that he's focused on is a comet impact or whatever. Yeah. My concern with this of focusing on it being an impact of something or a series of things is it takes the cyclical portion of this out of the equation with like Earth's magnetic field and with the solar like cycles and things like that. And when I talk to some people about this, I get a little pushback sometimes because it's been crossed sort of the wire with the whole climate change thing. Because when you start talking about the solar maximum and minimum cycles and the warming that it sort of happens on Earth and ice ages and things like that, they think that you're like a total just climate denier, climate change denier, whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm saying I think shit's gonna get weird, like, but not for the reasons that you think it might, you know, like.
Right.
Anyway, it's frustrating, but
it is. Yeah, if you don't agree with them, if you don't agree with people 100%, they just completely negate what you're saying. And
you might even agree on the end result, but you're like, hey, but if I show my work, it's different, and they're like, no, you don't. You're out of the club. Like,
that's what pissed me off about school. There was one point in my life where I got the right answer, didn't show my work.
Yes,
and they counted it as I got it wrong, and I was
dude,
like,
have we talked about this?
With you. I'm done with you.
I'm like, I found a different way to do it, and they're like, that's not the way we want you to do it. I'm like, but I get the same answer. I've been through this. That's so funny.
Yeah, Mac. It was a beginner's show. It was his theory light. It was the good stuff is on Rogan. Like he talks. I think there's like 20 something hours total of him talking on Rogan about his theory on this. And
like, if it's on Netflix, it's you know, it's pretty mainstream. Like it's not. Yeah.
It's not going to be super specific. It's not going to be super provocative. It was very tame compared to how he speaks on Rogan and like what he dives into there.
Look into Robert.
It's a beginner's show, Mac.
No, it's cool. I'm glad for it in a sense because I want people to get into it that aren't already. But like I've been into it for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever, and so like I've seen weirder stuff on it. But Robert Schoch's work in Egypt and with the Sphinx and things like that is actually what Graham Hancock bases a lot of his early work on. And I still appreciate his angle on it better. That it's more solar related than it is meteorite and comet related or whatever.
Interesting. And like, yeah, I always hesitate to like come to a conclusion that it's one specific thing in any scenario.
I don't like conclusions. I really try to stay away from conclusions because as soon as you conclude something, you close your mind off to a bunch of other stuff. Like it's actually, you know, I don't know. Running conclusions are cool, I guess. But
I came to the conclusion that the Pittsburgh Steelers suck. That's been correct. So
that was correct this year. Yeah. Yeah. Even with Pickett and Pickens, they can't get it right. They had the names right.
It's okay. The Cowboys suck too, so I don't really care.
Dude, what happened to them? Speaking of derailing trains, like they were doing so good.
No,
and then
they're not. They
were good the first half of the year, and then they just shat themselves.
Well, Dak came back. That's what happened. We're never going to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. It's just never. He chokes as bad as Tony Romo.
I think he has the record for a rookie year production as a quarterback, as a rookie. And then that was so tantalizing. And then to come down as hard as that.
Yeah, no, he's no screw Dak Prescott. Don't sign a guy for 10 years. Are
you just bitter because you drafted him in our league?
Well, that didn't help anything. Every time that I draft somebody, they get hurt.
Yeah,
that's my first or second pick. They get hurt every time.
You had a ridiculous season last year, as far as that goes.
It was dumb. Anyway,
sorry.
No, yeah, I derailed us with the Steelers comment.
No, it's okay.
I just mean the Steelers suck in general all the time, and I hate them. That's all I meant.
Even their multiple Super Bowl rings, those are all asterisk tainted. They suck. Like
I just feel like the Cowboys might have just as many as they do.
It's one less now, I think.
I don't know.
I think it's
that doesn't
5.
Sound right.
I think it's 5 versus 6. I think. But can we get a fact check? Can we get a fact check?
No, we can't. We're not that kind of show.
No, please don't.
Facts.
Let's see.
We just do speculation, and
I like it.
Let's try to get us. Kicked off YouTube here. My wife sent me this.
Oh.
Immunity from a COVID infection is as protective as vaccination against severe illness and death, study finds.
But why is that why is that controversial? Because that's always been, if you survived a thing, even if you found a vaccine for it, if you had the immunity to the disease, a vaccine was replicating that or emulating that.
Alden. Science changed over the last 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So
right.
none of that was true for the past 2 years. It's only true now again.
Just like the
Past 2 years,
definition.
gone.
Yeah. Like when we come up with a vaccine and then it turns out it doesn't actually prevent the spread, then we change the definition of a vaccine, not how we talk about this particular treatment. Like, okay, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I got you.
She just sent me this. She's sitting
Rules
on the
be
couch
damned.
behind this wall, so she can hear us talking about all
Nice.
More viewer.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
our one.
technically a listener. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not viewing anything. What'd you say, Nick? Oh, she just laughed.
She's allowed. Yeah.
So anyway, and yeah, I would say this study doesn't even, or this headline doesn't even give the whole story, because I think like the vaccines got less and less protective as they came out because
natural immunity is obviously better.
Obviously,
always been better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always. Well, y'all, it's been 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Nice.
Let's promote this great create again.
Yeah.
And let's let everybody get out of here, because this has been a fun one. Alden, I love it when you come on, man.
I had a great time, man.
You're so much fun. So
I'm gonna use the iPad next time because I can see you guys now.
Yeah, and you're sideways too, which is way better.
Yeah, I don't have to be the nonconformist now. So
sweet. Yeah, role you're not used to.
Yeah.
Once again, everybody, the Great Create. For anybody who's still watching, it's happening in 84 days. You can get tickets now for $42. Kids are free. How old is a kid, Zach?
12.
16 and under.
Is
so,
it?
16 and under are free.
That's generous,
Okay.
actually.
You're not even consider kids. I mean,
movie theaters, they're like, are you 5 years old? Like, you're not a kid anymore.
Like. Yeah, we have, as we stated at the beginning of this thing, there are tons of great demonstrations, vendors. There's going to be a film festival. There's going to be live comedy, live music. There's going to be all sorts of awesome things happening.
And probably some pretty cool people that go. That's honestly the other half of the reason why I like to go to places like this, is to meet like-minded, cool people. Yeah. Honestly, it's worth mentioning. Right.
Yes, I completely agree. And like, it's funny because like not everybody is like-minded completely. Like, you know, I have almost no interest in goat dairy and cheese making, but I'm interested in seeing how it's done.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm interested in more people knowing how to take care of themselves, though, which is in that way, you know.
100%.
That's really what's cool about libertarianism in general, is that like I probably don't agree with like every libertarian on everything. That's not how it goes. But it pulls people that are so tired of like the system, the status quo, and the extremes of the left, right, and like the, you know, bureaucracy of everything, that we have that common fundamental core thread that we share. And everyone's saying it pulls people from the right and the left, which is kind of interesting. Because like Jake, I imagine you came more like from a conservative family and culture and background, and I came more from like a more like liberal, like hippy dippy family, you know, like And then we each kind of saw like some faults there, and we're like, I don't know if this is my flavor of tea, you know. Anyway, it's cool that like we don't all agree on everything, but everyone listens to everyone so much that I love it.
And that's what the point of this really is. It's just for all of us to get together and share those ideas. And, you know, some of them are hippie, like goat cheese making or whatever. But then we have like a guy coming who's a paramedic and a firefighter going to teach us about like first response. That's kind of nothing. That's just good to know.
Yes. Right.
And then we're going to have things on like Bitcoin and business and just
3D printing. 3D printing will be a big one, because I think that's going to be a big part of people's future, especially like being able to be self-sufficient. If you can learn how to 3D print, you can fix anything that breaks in your house.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then like Alden said, really the people that are going to show up is going to be at least half, if not more, of the festival. Just coming and meeting your community and meeting people from outside of your community and bringing them in, or, you know, it's going to be fun. Just hanging out, having fun, meeting people, creating plans.
Yeah. Plus, the great Shane Hazel will be speaking there. It's going to be awesome.
Wow. I'm into it. I wish I could go, honestly.
Yeah, I wish you could be here for that. That'd be fun.
I'm heading out to Tennessee this summer, and so I'll be much closer to things like this.
Stay on this stream. Don't log off once we're done, because I want to talk to you real quick.
Sure.
Anyway, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. Zach, do you have anything else we need to promote today?
No, just that. And then, banishbigbrother.com if you want the toolkit we were talking about earlier.
Banishbigbrother.com.
Just check out lpgeorgia.com for all of this. We got this festival going on. We got the Banish Big Brother. We have like 10 other things too. So if you just want to go check out the site, join us.
Heck yeah.
Plug yourself in wherever you can.
Heck yeah. I love it. Once again, thank you all for joining. Be sure to tune into the podcast. Go back and watch other episodes of the Free Georgia podcast. Comes out most Tuesdays, unless I don't get one in time. But we've got 24 episodes for you to go back and watch or listen to. We're on every platform, including YouTube. Who knows if we'll still be on YouTube by the end of the year. It is likely we'll be banned at some point, or at least our channel temporarily taken down. So go check us out on Rumble and our Odyssey channel. I've said this like 50 times.
Say it every time. Yeah.
It's coming, but it's not up yet. So just be patient with me on that one. Odyssey is a little trickier than Rumble and YouTube. So thank y'all for tuning in. And Mac, yes, excited to learn about Vanarchy. It's going to be awesome. That's my company.
Right on.
Alden knows. He did the logo for it.
I do know, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we will see y'all next week, 8 p.m. for some more Liberty Libations. Thank y'all for coming.